You have to admit, AJ, it was not looking good for the last style bender, Israel Adesanya, going into that second round, right? Round one, Alex Paeta swelling with confidence, right? He's saying, I'm beating up that leg. I could already see him doing damage. I'm circling away from his right hand. It's only a matter of time until I get him where I want him to be. And it almost felt like everything from that last fight, the good points of Paeta, was just cranked up a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Once Israel Adesanya really bit down on, ooh, my leg, you knew. It was a game over, push him up against the fence, and then what happens? Botan opens up, and he opens up in a way that he normally doesn't, right? He went for the kill. He said knee down the middle, big shots. He came in with the killer left hook. But what happened? This thing wasn't blocking that chin. Adesanya cracks him in the temple, cracks him one more time. Felt very reminiscent to the first fight at the end of the first round, except this time he got the job done, pulled out the bow, and said, boom, hit him with 3 arrows, 4 arrows, I don't know how many arrows, but this is it, man. Is this poetic justice if you're an Israel Adesanya, narrative-wise, story-wise? You know, UFC eats this stuff up, man. Is this the biggest moment he has in his entire career?
I think so, Derek, and that's what I was talking about in the pre-show. I was going for the poetic justice, and that's why I chose to go with Adesanya on this one. It really does, man, bring everything full circle, you know, and to be the untouchable badass that Izzy was, that had the rest of the division scared, and then a killer comes in that you had a little bit of beef with in the past. This guy's got your number, up 3 on you. You know, it's quite a devastating story if you don't finish it full circle. And thankfully, I feel like Izzy is that kind of guy where the world or his story is written, in the clouds, and he's just going. And it's kind of, like you said, a poetic justice moment, man. It's really good to see. And I mean, you're right, Derek. It was almost out. Izzy was almost knocked out. So which adds a little bit more to the fire, a little bit more to the story, man. I liked it a lot, man.
Well, see, this is why I find this fight problematic, because it feels anticlimactic to sit here and say, okay, rivalry over, that's it, move on. Paeta, move up to 205. Izzy, you continue your run at 185. Like, it just feels like there's unfinished business still. Now, there's a little more respect after the fight, right? Israel Adesanya says you'll always be a champion. You're a great champion. Paeta, we don't know how he feels because the man doesn't speak English, and we didn't get no translation on that, right? But I'd imagine Paeta wants to fight him again. However, we're falling into this zone in the UFC where it's nothing but rematches, where it's nothing but, I mean, look, Juliana Pena, Amanda Nunes 3 just announced, right? So if Juliana Pena can get an immediate rematch against Amanda Nunes, why can't Alex Paeta get an immediate rematch against Israel Adesanya? Do you think that his performance in this fight and in the last one, and just like running up to this, warranted him being able to get a rematch?
It's an interesting question, Derek, because I think a lot of why he got the rematch was his name. He had a lot of name value. It was the boogeyman. Everybody, was scared, and they knew the past that Pereira and the champ had. So, but just going off a body of work, I don't really think so. I mean, who's he beat other than, the champ, and then yeah. So that's one, yes, but other than that, you can go against, like, you can have knocks against him for not fighting the toughest of competition. You go look at Izzy at 7 title defenses, 6 title defenses, comes back. That's why he gets the instant rematch. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Potan, don't get me wrong, I think the rematch should be there. I think it needs to go to, you have to have a solidified, end it on an odd number. I don't think that's going to happen with this one, though, Derek. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I hope for a rematch just because I do think that in this simulation of this matchup, you'll run it 100 times, and I think Paeta definitely wins probably like 60, 70 of those times. Mm-hmm. So I think when somebody has your number, they have your number. Now, Israel Adesanya, you have to give massive credit to him because he did something psychological, right? And he said, I played possum up against the cage. I think it's easy to say that, right? But I think the reality is he did psychologically lull Pereira into overextending himself so he could find the opening. And he just happened to land. When it counted most, Israel Adesanya showed up, which is something that it really does appear to be like his MO. He shows up when everybody counts him out, when nobody thinks he can get it done. He believes in himself, and that's why his message post-fight was, you have to believe in yourself. You'll never amount to anything if you don't go for something, right? But if we're talking about X's and O's, man, how confident were you going into round 2 of like, oh yeah, Israel Adesanya got this one in the bag? Because this is another one where it's like the Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman. Oh, everyone's hyped up on Leon, but it's like, yeah, but like in that fight, he was getting worked. You know what I mean? So like, were you in the camp of, here we go again? Or were you like, nah, Izzy could still get this done?
I was in the camp of here we go again. Oh shit, Derek. When Pereira was spamming those leg kicks and you can see them having an effect.
Hmm.
I mean, we talked about it in the pre-show. It made a big difference in the first fight, and then he comes back and it looks like he's hitting him even harder, digging in. I was a little worried, man. And as much as Izzy says he was playing possum, that was a big knee. And anytime you're against the cage with Pereira, you're always in trouble. So
Yeah.
it could have been a little bit of gamesmanship, but he was in a bad spot. And I think you're right, Derek. When timing comes and it matters, Izzy showed up. And that's
Yeah.
kind of, you said it, it's his MO, man. Very impressive. And that's how you want to be in this kind of, well, in any kind of game, really. But yeah.
Of course. And I mean, talking about the future, man, I think this is the worst thing that could potentially happen to the middleweight division because Robert Whitaker, now you're back in limbo. The only fight that makes sense right now is who? Hamzat Chimaev? It's like the only guy. Who else can you name right now that's a legitimate middleweight that you think like is worthy to fight Adesanya? Nothing comes to mind. When we do a rankings review, we can talk about it. But at the end of the day, Israel Adesanya I told you he was the last saving grace of the champions who are losing their belt, and he finally got it back, right? Now we need to see if Valentina can do the same. But at this point, man, we're back to dominance in the UFC's middleweight division. Let's go, baby.